This is an interview with dream decoder and spirituality expert Theresa Cheung.
Are you listening?
So this is an interview with dream decoder and spirituality expert Theresa Cheung. My name is Timothy Schultz. I'm the host of Lottery, Dreams, and Fortune. I was super excited to recently sit down with Theresa Cheung, where we got to discuss her insights on dreams, intuition, and even the science behind it. She is the author of over 100 books, including the Dream Dictionary, the Premonition Code, and several others. You're going to want to listen to the end of the interview because I even got to ask her how you can have meaningful dreams and how to increase your intuition. So without further ado, let's get to it now. Here is my podcast interview with dream decoder and spirituality expert Theresa Cheung. So I'm here with Theresa Cheung, who is a spirituality expert and dream decoder. She's the author of over 100 books, including the Premonition Code, the Dream Dictionary, and several others. She's a fascinating person. Theresa, how are you today?
I'm very happy, thank you, and delighted to talk to you, Timothy. I checked out your YouTube channel and it rocks, really exciting. And to hear your story, it's just so right up my street. So thank you for inviting me. I feel really excited.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me. I know you're very busy, so I really appreciate your time. And there's so much that I want to talk about today. But first of all, can you explain what you do?
That's the hardest thing in the world, really. I basically research and write books about the unseen, the invisible inner world, which is the world of dreams, memories, visions, intuition, afterlife, time travel, all these mysterious, infinite possibilities, which until recently science has said are impossible or not worthy of study. But what is wonderful is that I've incarnated in a time where there are lots of scientists now and experts actually paying as much attention to what happens internally, what's invisible and unseen, to the external world around us. And I'm so excited. So I write books about that. I started collecting reader stories, people who had believed in angels or had seen dead people or had had near-death experiences, those kind of experiences, because I was born into a family of psychics and spiritualists. So I kind of grew up with that. And then I went on to study theology and religion and English at King's College, Cambridge. So I had the academic credentials to look at these stories as data and just collate them in book after book. And they became more and more popular. But then I reached a point in my life when, collecting all these anecdotal stories wasn't enough. So I took a deep breath and reached out to the world of science. And they actually really welcomed me with open arms, because what I was able to provide them was data that these stories, because in any other field, these are all witness statements. People like yourself who had a precognitive dream and it played out, or people who have had an incredible near-death experience where they met people in heaven and found out things that they couldn't possibly know. You could say this is all anecdotal and coincidence, but there are literally stacks and stacks of these experiences. Since the beginning of time, people have been having these mysterious experiences. What is going on? And if anything, they are worthy of investigation. They're witness statements, basically, really. And so I found out also how advanced science is now studying consciousness. What is that spark that makes us alive? What is that internal spark? And there's a whole science of consciousness out there that for the last 6 years now, I have been falling in love with. It's so exciting. I'm working with scientists, bringing in my stories and my ability to talk to not the general public in a way, because the trouble with scientists is they're quite sort of like academic, and a lot of these research studies are buried in scientific journals that are very inaccessible. So I've been able to sort of shine the spotlight on them. So it's a very long-winded answer. So I hope that kind of answers. And I basically now I'm just going around talking about all the books I've written, still writing books, teaching courses. But basically at the end of the day, I write about, research and promote the inside out approach to life rather than the outside in, which is prevalent in the world. Most people define themselves by externals, by their job, their relationships, by what they can see and touch. But at the end of the day, if you've ever had the privilege of sitting by someone when they pass, they don't talk about any of that stuff. They don't talk about how much money in the bank or their career. They talk about love. They talk about memories, and they talk about meaning. And that's what I wrote about.
That's very interesting. And you used to work in a hospice. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
yes.
So you got to be near people when they passed away. And correct me if I'm wrong. I was reading this, and also you have received tons of letters from people that have had near-death experiences. So they've died and come back to life. Yes. Yeah. So are there any themes amongst those people, collective themes, or what do you take away from that?
Well, I mean, when you are with someone when they're close to passing, it can be a remarkably transformative experience, because when you see them pass, it's obvious that their spark, their consciousness, this invisible essence has gone. And what is left is just like you've taken a coat off on the table. It's like the material does not define them. They have gone somewhere. It's actually, this sounds strange. It's a very liberating experience. I feel that they're free. That wonderful Mary Fry poem, "Do Not Stand at My Grave and Weep," is something I think should be required listening for everyone, because it certainly is, from my experience, true of the experience of death. But I was very young then. I did it before university to help earn money, because I was born into a family of traveling psychics and spiritualists. So I just worked there. But actually, it was so informative being there, seeing people having parting visions. When they're around the deathbed, sometimes they would talk to people who weren't there. Yes, you can call it hallucination and, the dying brain trying to seek for comfort, but whatever it is, it's remarkable. And there are people who've had these near-death experiences who are fascinating to talk to, because they come back utterly transformed. Because see, the mark of a hallucination is people feel drained by it. It's damaging. It pulls them down, and depression often follows hallucination. Near-death experiences are completely the opposite. People come back with, I understand what life is about. It should be about joy. It should be about what you give out. It should be about the inside world. And if anyone's struggling to understand what I'm saying, I found a very easy way to educate them about this now, and I'm blessed because I work with the science team who were behind the afterlife scenes in the Disney movie Soul. They were called in to advise how to do the afterlife scenes in that wonderful Disney movie Soul. So that's kind of what I'm talking about here. If anyone has watched that sublime Oscar-winning movie, it really does capture the essence of what I study and write about.
I have quite a few questions about dreams and precognition and those types of things, but before I get to that, when people do pass away, with whether they have a near-death experience and come back, or they pass away and move on, what happens to someone?
Well, I haven't had a near-death experience myself. The person you need to talk to is a friend of mine who's been on my podcast, actually, and has endorsed some of my books, Dr. Eben Alexander. He's a very famous near-death experiencer. So I've talked to him, I've interviewed him about that. But from all the people I've spoken to, what happens is that they see their life in reverse, which I find interesting. It's like everything happens very quickly. You see, so that's what I say to people. If you're not happy with your life, or you don't like what you're doing right now, change it, do something, because you're going to have to watch it again. So, are you living your life in a way that you want to watch again? And if you don't, now's your moment to change it, because you get to see it again. And then you meet departed loved ones or spiritual beings, and then you get this overwhelming sense of interconnection with everyone and everything. And it's so beyond human explanation. That's the uniting theme. I can tell you, of all the stories I've had, it's an overwhelmingly positive experience. I know there are some people who say that you go through the depths of hell as well. And even Dr. Alexander talks about that as well. He went through a very muddy, grey thing, but that's sort of like encountering your shadow side, which is within us all. But it's all for learning experiences. It's not punishment. It's all about you. If you have caused other people injury, you need to understand and feel that empathy, because often if you've caused other people pain, it's maybe because you're having an empathy deficit. So on the other side, you're going to feel that person's pain, not for punishment, but to learn, because the meaning and purpose of our lives is to learn. We are here to constantly learn and to continue to evolve. And from what I've gathered about people who talk about, visiting the other side, the learning doesn't stop. They're busy on the other side. They've got things to do, and they are constantly learning and evolving. That's what the theme is. But of course, I can't speak from experience because I can't claim to have had a near-death experience. I've had dreams of departed loved ones, which have been remarkable, where I've had conversations with people who have passed that it's so lifelike. I wake up feeling vibrant, and I know that there's some afterlife sign connection has happened. It's absolutely incredible. Again, of course, you can't prove it. This is all anecdotal. Hence why, to answer the skeptics, and of course you can imagine you can't write for 25 years about this and come with a background from King's College, Cambridge, without being inundated with skeptics. So I have now the science to point to and to show that there is very valid research into this, into psychic abilities, into precognition, into the possibility, and I say possibility. I don't know for sure. I just choose to believe, based on what I've researched and learnt and written about, that the afterlife is real. That's my personal choice, but it's totally up to other people what they believe. Just choose the path that brings you joy, though. If your path doesn't bring you joy, you have to question why you're following it. This is the path that brings me joy, so that's why I follow it. But it is backed up by personal experience, by anecdotal evidence, and now with my ongoing work with scientists and neuroscientists. And I was absolutely thrilled last week that the Institute of Noetic Sciences in the States invited me to do a live webinar with their lead research director, Dr. Tawabe, and it was amazing. It felt, because I'm not a scientist, and they welcomed me in to their team of scientists, and I was able to talk about what I do to them. So it was wonderful. Again, I'm going on a tangent. Forgive me.
No, you're fine. I mean, this is a loaded question, but what is the science saying about this type of thing?
Science, of course, we talk about, I'm not a scientist, so I'm really not the one. All I know is that there is stacks of research into people who have had these experiences, and all the signs are that it's above chance what's happened to them. It's not coincidence. There is proof to show that this isn't coincidence. This isn't random. This is utterly transformative, and it's worthy of study. There's also research into, the possibility of glimpsing the future. People who are professional precogs in a way. I had no idea when I wrote the Premonition Code, and I worked with Dr. Julia Mossbridge, who's a neuroscientist who researches remote viewing, precognition. That's her career. But there's a whole community of professional intuitives and precogs working with police, working with law enforcement, working for major companies to predict trends. I find that fascinating. And, there is research to prove that they have an above average ability to predict the future. What is going on there? Is it just brilliant guesswork? Is it telepathy when people can read other minds? We don't know, but it is worthy of study. But all the evidence is slowly moving towards this could possibly be real. And especially in near-death experience studies, I will point to Dr. Sam Parniers. He's a leading researcher into near-death experiences. And why he's fascinating is he doesn't actually believe in an afterlife. But because he is a resuscitation expert, indeed, he pioneered resuscitation techniques, which are keeping people alive. Because you've got to think 50 years ago, we wouldn't have had so many near-death experience stories because people would have died and taken that with them. Now we are able to bring people back from the brink. That's why we're getting so many stories. But he was almost getting bored of hearing the similar themes of people who'd had these stories. And he pioneered this study. And the last one he did, which I think ended in 2015, said that consciousness can survive bodily death by at least 3 minutes, because they had some way of proving it, that one of the person had actually seen what was happening on the operating table and had noticed things that would be impossible for him to notice because he was on the operating table. And the academic community actually took note. And because it was so interesting, this study, they're actually now another one ongoing. in more hospitals all around the world. So I find that really interesting.
That's very intriguing. I've spoken with a couple people who have died and come back to life. And one person I spoke with subsequently after it got into DMT because he believed that, or he believes that is the closest thing he can do to recreate the experience. But what's your opinion on that sort of thing?
I don't believe in any sort of artificial means. I'm very much the natural approach. I don't think you need to do that because I believe we have a God gene or a spirit or a soul gene within us all, and we can connect that. We just need to get rid of fear, doubt, conditioning, all those voices that have told us this is impossible, that science knows, that logic and reason is the only thing. Now, logic and reason have their place. They're really important. But without intuition, that leap of faith, humanity would not have progressed. And if you look at great scientific discoveries, for example, there's always that intuitive leap. And many of these intuitive leaps I found actually when I was writing about dreaming happen in dream states. The periodic table, the theory of relativity, all these, they were inspired by dreams. Because I'll tell you why, in the dream state, you would have known that logic and reason are the only things absent. So you're therefore able to brainstorm and make connections that you simply can't when you're awake, and your conscious mind, which is ruled by logic and reason, puts down the barriers. And that's why I'm so encouraging people to fall in love with their dreams, because in their dreams, they are kind of like pure soul in a way, in that they're not constrained by logic and reason, and anything is possible. In the world of the dream, infinite potential, infinite possibility. And it's sad actually that a lot of people have kind of dull dreams. When that doesn't have to happen, I want people to have more exciting dreams because, you know, in the dream state, it's totally safe. You can experiment, you can role play, you can meet anyone, you can do anything, you can create anything. Because if you do it in the dream state, then your brain kind of recognizes it as reality because the dream state and the waking state are intimately connected. Research shows that your dreaming you and the waking you are not separate as we think. They are one and the same. It's just in the dream state, you become pure soul, pure spirit, pure potential. So if you can work with your dreams, change your dreams, you can change your life as well. And actually, there's interesting research on people who've had post-traumatic stress disorder, working with lucid dreaming, which I'm writing about recently, which is the ability to know you're dreaming when you're dreaming, that it can actually be used to treat stress in veterans and to heal them from, you know, really stress and trauma in the past. Dreams have incredible potential, and I think they're so neglected. But I've been on a kind of one-woman mission this last 2 years, and I was blessed in a way with the lockdown dream phenomenon that happened during COVID, because I have been writing dream dictionaries and about dreams, you know, since the early 2000s. So I had my kind of niche following, an audience. But then the lockdown happened. And what happened in lockdown? We lost connection to the material. All the things we defined ourselves by, our jobs, our relationships, all of that was in jeopardy, even our health. The external material world was in jeopardy. So the only way we could pull through was to connect to our inner world. And that's why dreams burst through, because dreams are the first sign of spiritual awakening. The dreaming mind was trying to tell humanity, look, there's more to you than meets the eye. You are not just a body who does things. You are a soul. There's an inner world. Fall in love with that inner world. Because when you do, when you get to a point in your life when your inner world is strong, that you know you have the potential for negativity and toxicity within you, but you have the inner self-care and love to choose to do the right thing, that's when the magic happens. Because then when external things fall away, be it a relationship, be it a career, whatever, you always have that, you know, you've got your own back. You have that inner strength. You know that you're more than the external. And, you know, that book that I always quote, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, we're recording this on Holocaust Memorial Day, so it comes to mind. He survived the Holocaust, where his entire family was slaughtered around him, most demeaning, degrading human experience you can imagine. But he found that inner being, that soul, and that gave him the strength to know that this is not all there is, to pull through, and after that to write a book that has transformed and healed and comforted millions. It's called Man's Search for Meaning.
Wow. I'll have to check that out. That is fascinating. So with dreams, with myself and with millions, probably more than millions, people throughout the history of humankind, people have had dreams about things before they have happened, some of the dreams. So where does that information come from? Some people would say, hey, that's just a coincidence. You dream about something happening and then it happens. And then other people think there's more to it, especially when you dream about something or a situation or anything with specific details and then it happens. I mean, where does that come from?
Well, basically, I mean, we are taught to believe that time is linear. There's past, present, and future. But what I discovered, again, working with scientists, they don't know what time actually is. And, there are experiments to show that the past influences the future influences the past, and that they're all kind of happening at once. Again, this is big science theory. The idea of a causal loop, for example, in physics, if you studied that at school. I was terrible at science at school, and I wish I'd actually paid more attention. I was in arts and everything, but I wish I'd paid more attention, because actually physics is deeply spiritual. In the Premonition Code, we actually have a chapter, what is time? And most scientists actually would say, I don't know. They don't know what time is, just as they don't know what dreams are. And they don't really know why we're on this planet. Science is just coming up with theories. What I like to think of it is that we have a kind of a long body over time where we are infinite, that we are, our past, our present and future is happening all the same time. But because in our limited human form, we have to have some kind of a way to understand it. This is the only way we can understand it. But when I studied it in depth, I could see that our future is already happening. Our past is all happening at the same time, and that it is possible for the future to dip into the past and the past to glimpse the future. And I have had many stories, not quite as exciting as yours, Timothy. I mean, winning the lottery is something actually in my books. There's always a section, a frequently asked question, can I use my psychic abilities to win the lottery? And I say, not typically, but also I think the world of soul is more interested in your spiritual health and well-being, because money helps. Yes, it helps. But if it was the source of all joy, why have we got so many deeply unhappy wealthy people and celebrities? We hear it on the news all the time. People who have achieved everything in life, career-wise, relationship-wise, look-wise, popularity-wise, and then we wake up one morning and we hear that they've decided to do something terrible, be it in drugs or worse still, take their own life. You hear it time and time again. So I don't understand why people think that money is the answer. It most certainly isn't. It's a Band-Aid. It can certainly help. And also, if you do have money, you can actually help other people. That's a great joy of it. But really, without inner joy and without inner wealth, it's meaningless. And, if only we could realize that in this social media age, where if you look at social media, people spend so much time curating their social media and how they appear externally to others, presenting an image which is largely false. If only they spent as much time and attention to their soul and their relationship with their self that nobody can see but them, because, to risk sounding cliched, it is the greatest love of all, the love you have for yourself, because you can't give to others what you don't have yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, if you don't love and understand yourself, how on earth do you think you can go out there and offer people what you haven't got? There are a lot of wounded healers out there, and that can be helpful in a way that you can have empathy, but then it becomes kind of dependency, where you've got all these people enabling their victimhood and not, actually, I mean, I'm really pleased also that as well as the dream phenomenon, manifesting is big at the moment, because there is a point to that you become, if you are filled with gratitude and you find joy right here, right now, regardless of whether you've got that promotion, that relationship, that money in the bank, if you find joy right here, right now, you are rich already. And if you're grateful for that feeling of, I'm just so excited that I'm here alive. And this life is a miracle if you think. There are lots of people who don't wake up every morning. You're blessed every time you wake up. You reach that state. Somehow you become a magnet. I don't know how it works energy-wise, but I do think you attract better things. But as long as you think that happiness is getting lots of money or getting thousands of Instagram likes, that is a very, very flawed way. That is not true happiness. Time and time again, it's been proven it's not. True happiness. Please watch that Disney movie Soul. Sometimes the true happiness is watching a feather fall from a tree, the taste of a pizza. The main character thinks that his reason in life is in his musical gift. And a lot of us actually think, well, if you've got a gift like music or sport, that's your joy. Yes, it is. But he makes the mistake of thinking that's all that he is. When he realized that actually that's just the icing on the cake. He has to learn to find the joy in just opening the curtains in the morning and seeing the sun, in watching a leaf fall, in stroking a cat. That's, again, mindfulness tying into that. I think that's the lesson of our lives. But the first step on that path is self-understanding and self-love. And sadly, a lot of us have traumatic childhoods where the people who are supposed to love us unconditionally don't. And that's why we grow up with a very, very difficult relationship with ourselves. And that is the first thing. So in many of my books, I talk about parenting ourselves again. And that's where precognition is, well, having a relationship with your past self and your future self, shaking hands with your future self. I like to think now that my future self is my guardian angel. It's watching over me. Well, and I like to be a guardian angel for my past, in times in my past when there's been unhappiness or I felt I messed up or, thought I couldn't go on. I like to think that the me here now is there saying, come on, you will pull through. And I know this sounds very surreal, but I think our guardian angels is our own soul. That's a very roundabout way about talking about time. But, I think we are infinite beings.
It's fascinating.
It's you. It's ourselves. Our future selves is maybe there for us, nudging us in the right direction. And if only we could read the signs in the universe, understand that we are interconnected with everyone and everything, and see meaning beneath the surface. And that's where dream decoding can help, because dreams speak to us in the language of symbols and metaphors, like when you were at school, when you were analyzing a poem and you were taught metaphor, symbols and associations. Your dreaming mind is an artist. It speaks to you like an artist, a poet, a visionary. It doesn't just state one thing, because it knows that, a painting can say a picture paints 1,000 words. Your dreaming mind uses pictures and symbols, one thing meaning something else, for a reason, because it can say so much more to you and encourage you to brainstorm. So if you've had a dream that you really can't make sense of, just pick one or two symbols and then brainstorm around them, and you will get illumination. Somehow your dream is offering you a commentary on what's happening currently in your waking life. And it can really, really be helpful to you. It's like your nocturnal therapist, your nocturnal intuition speaking to you, though, as a poet and as an artist.
For the people watching this that don't have dreams, or they haven't had very many, or they really want to get into having a dream that is spiritual or symbolic, where they feel like they're getting a message that's meaningful, what advice do you have for them?
2 points. First of all, 99.9% of our dreams are symbolic, psychological dreams. As I say, your dreaming mind acting like a nocturnal therapist, offering you symbols, colors, feelings, emotions that it just wants you to think about, because for some reason in your waking life, you've not noticed the importance of something. And your dreaming mind, which is basically your nocturnal intuition, say, you need to reflect on this because you're not reflecting enough. I don't know anyone whose life would not benefit from more reflection. And your dreaming mind is encouraging you to do that. So that's the first point. The second point, yes, lots of people say they don't dream. I know many people like that. But I'm telling you, all the people listening now, chances are you're going to dream tonight. Why? Because Timothy is talking to you about it. Like anything in life, your dreaming mind responds to the attention you give it. And if you go through your life thinking dreams are meaningless, rarely think about them. It's a bit like a friend who keeps texting you and you don't reply. After a while, your dreaming mind, your dream recall is going to go. So give your dreaming mind attention before you go to bed tonight. Say, I'm going to dream. It's going to be fun. Put a pen and paper by your bed. And then in the morning, write down any symbols that come to mind, anything. There's always sort of images, and chances are they've been inspired by a dream. If you keep doing that, what you're doing, you're respecting your dreaming mind and saying, look, I'm really sorry I've ignored you all these years. I really do want to hear what you have to say. Your dreaming mind will respond, but it may take a bit of time if you've been conditioned to dismiss dreams as nonsense, random firings of the brain, which many of us have. But, there's lots of therapists out there now who use dream therapy to treat their clients. There are scientists researching dream decoding and lucid dreaming as a powerful psychological tool. You have the science out there to know that dreams are not nonsense. And the lockdown dream phenomenon, where everybody was having these weird, wonderful dreams, because they were getting more REM sleep, because a lot of people on furlough or at home, our mornings had changed. But our dreaming mind also knew that it was a time of crisis and pain. And when there's times of crisis and pain, we do tend to dream more, because our dreaming mind's trying to help us out of the situation we're in and offer insight. So just pay attention to your dreaming mind. Tell yourself you're going to dream. And in the morning, if you don't recall anything, just simply say, okay, I didn't dream tonight, but I will dream tomorrow. Stay positive. Go and watch the movie Inception or The Matrix. Go and watch movies. Play a game like Skyrim, which is such a dream fantasy, or something. And immerse yourself in alternate realities which mirror the dream state. Read the novel Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, both novels inspired by a dream. Actually, a lot of Stephen King novels were dreams. I'm telling you, Misery was a dream. He dreamt that plot. Just imagine your next dream, if you're listening, could be the next great novel, next great invention, next great work of art. Or better still, it could offer you an insight that could help you in your waking life, which is just as important as all these great achievements. So give dreams a chance. They're your best friend. We all want someone in life who's always there for us, who's loyal, who will tell us the truth. Dreams don't lie. They are your best friend. Embrace them. They want to be noticed. They just want attention.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
Because we go into this. I mean, it's better than Netflix. I mean, once you really start dreaming, actually, vitamin B, if you're lacking vitamin B, research has shown that lack of vitamin B, that's a dreaming vitamin.
Was that right?
You make sure you eat foods rich in vitamin B. Lack of vitamin B is linked to poor dream recall. Proper sleep hygiene as well, making sure your bedroom's a sanctuary. All these things can boost dream recall significantly, but they're just waiting there. They're a treasure trove. The surreal stories and scenarios that you can come up with at night. They're incredible. And if you think, I mentioned Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you can tell that was a dream, can't you?
Yeah.
That the authors had this dream. They wrote it down. Thank God they did, because Frankenstein was actually the first science fiction novel ever. But it was Mary Shelley dreamt it. She had it. It's a dream. Imagine if she'd woken up and thought, well, that's nonsense. I dreamt of this, weird person, who came to life with electricity. Just imagine. Just imagine if Einstein had dismissed his dreams.
Wow.
Theory of relativity. Actually, I'm going to tell you something as well for the tech people listening. I'm sure there are a lot of people into tech. Google. Larry Page, he had a dream. He was at Stanford University, wondering why he was there, because he couldn't find his life vocation. But he was very into computers and had lots of old computers lying around his room. One night he fell asleep and he dreamt that all the information on all those old computers could go into one page. He got up in the middle of the night, a very sacred time, actually, between 2 and 5 a.m. in the morning is sacred. If you do wake up in that time, many great inventions have been in that 2 to 5 a.m. time. Your dreaming mind is waking you up for a reason. Write down what's on your mind. You never know. He wrote it down, did some maths, thought this might be possible. He dropped out of Stanford. 2 or 3 years later, Google. Now, Google has changed all our lives. A dream.
Wow.
A dream. So, just think about that.
That's incredible. Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah. Dreams give you the ability to brainstorm, as I said, to make connections that you would not allow yourself to. I mean, we all talk about brainstorming in business meeting where we could do these wild scenarios, but still when we're awake, we're limited by logic and the boundaries of space and time, which is important. However, in the dream state, there are no boundaries. So you can make these incredible connections and possibilities.
Yeah, it's astonishing. So we are running kind of short on time here, but I do want to ask you, how can someone increase their intuitive abilities if they really want to do that?
Well, stay away from your phone for a while. Have a time each day where the phone isn't controlling your life. And especially one of the best intuition boosting tips I can say, the first half an hour of your day, please stay away from your phone. Don't reach for your phone, because I'll tell you why. If you reach for your phone, your intuition just does a nosedive, because it says, well, all the needs of other people, what's on the news, everything else matters more than me. Because really your intuition is you. It's the highest form of you, the most intelligent aspect of you. And you're like your dreaming mind, your intuition. So your dreaming mind is your intuition by night. By day is your intuition. You see, in dreams, your intuition speaks through symbols. During the day, it has to work through logic and reason and practicality and material world. So if you want to give your intuition a chance to inspire your day, lead your day, try to make sure the first 30 minutes of your day are you. Write down your dreams. Do an enormous stretch. Send a message to the universe physically that you are expansive and open. Meditate for a couple of minutes. Meditation is supremely powerful, because people who say they've had no psychic or intuitive experiences or precognitive dreams like you have, if they're put on a simple course of meditation, very simple, the part of their brain associated with intuition and creativity starts firing. So if you are one of these people who think, well, I've never had a hunch come true, I've never had a dream come true, I'm not that intuitive, I strongly urge you to do a couple of minutes of meditating each day, because there is solid research show now that it can start firing that part of your brain associated with all these highly creative connections. But also what I want to say about the research into people who are allegedly psychic or believe in the majority of people actually, when studies are done, say, yeah, I've had a coincidence. I've had a dream come true. I've had a hunch that played out, proving that, actually we're speaking to the majority here when we talk about psychic abilities. The great majority of people do actually believe it's possible. They just lack faith in it. And every time they say, yeah, I've had a hunch come true, but yeah, it was just coincidence. What you're doing actually is saying, well, yes, I'm a human being, but I'm a bit of a dodgy one. You're actually, sending negative messages to yourself, because this is your infinite potential in you. If you've had a hunch come true, that is you operating at the highest level. And that's the you want to celebrate, not dismiss and say, or second guess it or doubt it. Trust it and believe in it, because the more you trust in it, the more it's going to follow. So first half an hour of your day, make it about you, make it a sacred, quiet time where you focus on you. And if only you don't touch your phone for the first half an hour of the day, I can tell you your intuition will progress in leaps and bounds. The second thing is dream decoding. Of course, that's a very powerful way, because when you pay attention to your dreams, you are paying attention to your intuition. So work on your dreams, write them down, Google the meaning. You don't have to buy a dream dictionary. My publishers will hate me for saying that. No. But my dream dictionaries are common, universal archetypal symbols. As I always say, you need to bring your personal associations into your dream decoding. I love dogs, so if I dream of dogs, it's a symbol of unconditional love and loyalty. That's the archetypal meaning of a dog. But if you fear dogs or don't really like them, if a dog appears in your dream, it's going to have a very different interpretation. So yes, pay attention to the universal symbols and meanings. Use that to kickstart your interpretation, but always bring your own personal associations in, because it's your dream. It's not the dream. It's not the dream dictionary you find online dream. It's your dream. You must decode it. And I'll tell you, you'll know when you've got the right meaning of the dream, because you'll get that light bulb moment. You'll say, I get this. You'll just know. And I'm telling you, your dream will tell you something you don't know. It won't be something that's like, yeah, yeah, that's obvious. It will be a surprise. Dreams love to surprise and delight you. So that's another thing. Also, tuning into your body. Research, again, to go to the science, it's called presentiment. That research studies have shown that in your gut, in your heart rate, in your sweating, that is where intuition speaks to you first. So tune into your body. If your mouth goes dry and you've just had a glass of water for no reason, you suddenly get a pain or a headache or your stomach turns and you're not sure why, listen to that. Your intuition is talking to you through bodily sensations. So tune into that. So I think and also meditation, of course, I really do think, and it doesn't have to be hours and hours. I struggle with people. I get lots of letters with people thinking I can't set aside 2 hours to meditate. Actually, it's always men who say they've got 2 hours to meditate. I don't, who's got the time? We haven't got the luxury. Life is here for living. You're here to do things, to go about your life. A few minutes is all you need to just hone in, to quieten down, listen to your breath, notice your thoughts, and in that moment to rise above and think, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my feelings. To observe yourself like you're sitting by a stream and all the thoughts and feelings are going by you. When you are able to do that, to step outside, then you realize that you are infinite, that you are more. Because the trouble is, people think when thoughts go through them, like a thought of anger, that they are angry. You're not. Anger's passing through you. Let it flow. So meditation, dream decoding, a little bit less time on your phone, especially first thing in the morning, and tuning into your body. Those are my top 4 tips.
That's all very intriguing. So people that want to find your books, the Dream Dictionary, the Premonition Code, or the countless others that are so fascinating, where can they find those? And also, along with that question, I saw online where people can actually take a test to test their own precognitive abilities.
That's with the Premonition Code. Warning, it's tough. It's the science way. Dr. Mossbridge, who's the neuroscientist that I co-authored the Premonition Code with, an amazing lady. Do check her out. She's really, really great fun. A really visionary scientist, way ahead of her time. I call her the time lady whenever I interview her and I work with her, and we're still in touch. For me, I have a website, www.theresachung.com. Do check out my White Shawls podcast. I'm talking a lot to celebrities at the moment, actually, about their dreams, not because I'm a slave to celebrity culture, but they have influence and people take note. And it's very interesting, actually. I spoke to Meghan Trainor recently on her podcast. And this very young girl was like, oh, wow, this is so interesting. I think right now young people are really, really wanting to go inward. They're seeing that the old external approach isn't working. So you can find me if you want to go that way through the many podcasts I've done or the TV. But, of course, my books are on Amazon. My Dream Dictionary is exclusive to Barnes & Noble. It's not available on Amazon. You can get it through sellers, but Barnes & Noble did a deal. But my Dream Decoder, which is in the Freud Museum, actually, which is wonderful, it's an illustrated card pack. The Premonition Code is available, and I've written too many books. It's an addiction, but it's what I do. It's what I love. I've written over 100 books. So really there's some on all sorts of topics, from afterlife to astrology to spiritual growth to rituals to being highly sensitive. And a lot of them contain my lovely reader stories in there, true life stories of people who write to me. And it's a way of me actually to just put this evidence out there.
Well, it's also so fascinating. We will put links to all these things below in the description of this podcast. Is there anything else you wanted to say today that I don't know enough to ask?
Really, it's. I'm thinking of the people listening. Don't think that you'll never have a precognitive dream, or that you can't be psychic, or you can't have this sense of blissful interconnection with everyone and everything that we talk about in spirituality so much. Don't think you're not going to find your life meaning and purpose. If you are going through a hard time, as long as you're learning from it, you are actually already living your meaning, because from all the research I've done, we are here to learn. So as long as you're learning, from your mistakes, you are living a life filled with spiritual meaning. You are spiritually awakening. If you've lost a loved one, as many of us have in COVID, bereavement is actually a tremendous opportunity for spiritual growth, because you know when you've lost someone you care about, that a part of them hasn't gone on. You know that death ends a life, not a relationship, and that they still exist somewhere in your memories and in your dreams. Cherish that connection. You can nurture it, and it will show you that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. In my humble opinion, as I always say, this is my opinion, and opinion is very different from fact. But I'm trying to work with people who deal with facts, scientists. And I think the gap between science and spirit is closing so rapidly. It's a very exciting time to be alive.
It absolutely is very, very fascinating. So, Theresa Cheung, thank you very, very much for your time. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. No, thank you for what you do. I mean, you could just sit on your laurels and just, make it all about you, and you've decided not to. You're awakening to the bliss and joy of life by evolving. You of everyone could just sit and think, well, that's it. I've got what everybody thinks they want. Why would I bother? But you don't. That's why you're an inspiration.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, you have to do something you're passionate about. If you sit on a beach every day, it would get old in a few days.
Yeah, I mean, we all think we want bliss. But can I just say this, that bliss isn't actually why we're here. We are here to find joy in the journey. And I love my movie references, and I love movies like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. And as I always say, just imagine Lord of the Rings if they were stuck in the Shire. We'd be bored stiff. They needed to go to Mordor. Just imagine Harry Potter without his shadow side, Voldemort. Dull, 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 right? It is the journey. Enjoy the ride right here, right now, in this moment. That's why you're here, not for the destination. It's the ride that it's all about.
Yes. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Theresa. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. I hope that you continue to enjoy the ride and savor the moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So that was my interview with Theresa Cheung. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this interview, go ahead and hit the like button and let me know in the comments, what did you think of this interview, and what do you think about dreams? What do you think about dreaming about something before it happens in real life? I love checking out your comments. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to see more interviews like this one. And if you want to support this podcast and get early access to new interviews, I will put a link to the Patreon page below. You're going to want to check that out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support.